Hello, this is Simon Stevens from Empire Paintball. I'm here to take you through the Empire Battle-Tested Combat. Now we're going to show you how to take apart and to maintain your Empire Battle-Tested Combat. In order to take apart the gun, you have to remove some of the accessories. To start off with, I'll undo the front and slide off the foregrip, which is fitted onto a standard Picatinny rail that comes on both the bottom and top of the gun, so you can add or change different accessories. I'm going to take the barrel off from the front. We have many different aftermarket barrel systems available for the combat, including our infamous Apex system. The feed neck slides on and off the Picatinny rail as well. That's great in use because it allows you to slide back and clean out the gun, but it also means it's very quick and easy to remove. On the back we have the sight rail, and that is also clamped onto the Picatinny rail system. So we have to undo the screw and simply take that off. Okay, now we're going to take the grip frame off of the gun, and we'll start by undoing the bottom line air systems adapter. So we undo the two screws. Okay. Take those screws out so they don't fall anywhere. One of those screws is longer than the other. The longer screw is the rear one. Now we're going to undo the grip frame screws. One at the back and one at the front. Now these are through bolts, and both sides have an Allen key head. So if you do need to, you can put an Allen key on each side in order to tighten or to undo those bolts. I'm going to push out the bolts. Okay. Okay, before removing the grip frame from the gun, make sure it is no longer cocked. Do that simply by pointing in a safe direction, hold the charging handle, pull the trigger, and release it so it goes forwards. Then we take off the frame. In order to be able to separate the body halves of the gun, we need to take off the charging handle cover. Sometimes that's very tight. You might need to get hold of it with a pair of pliers or grips. And on the back side, we're going to need to release the two valve screws. Okay, once those are out, we can turn it over and we're going to release the four screws that hold the body together. I like to push them out completely. Okay. And we have the main receiver of the gun, and we should be able to separate the two sides. And separating the two sides, it should all come apart. Now there'll be some pieces inside, so I'm just going to take the top off carefully, leaving everything in the bottom half. So there's nothing in the top half, and put that to the side. Now at the front, we have the barrel adapter, and that sits inside, and the bolts would typically be inside that. We have the bolt system. Underneath the bolt, oops, it's hard to lift it and show the camera at the same time. Set it back up again. Alright, so at the front we have the bolt, Underneath the bolt we have a ball detent, and one of the nice things about our ball detents, hopefully you can see this, is you can use it in one direction and then you can flip it over and use it in the other direction. So if it wears out, you can turn upside down, reuse it while you get a replacement part. Okay, inside the gun we have the bolt at the front with the front sealing O-ring, and then that connects along the top with a connecting rod to the hammer at the back. At the back of the gun there is a plug which just fits in and holds the spring tension. There's the spring for the hammer with a spring guide inside it. There is also a O-ring, or an O-ring rather, which is extremely important. This works as a bumper. Sometimes you can see this through the slot on the side of the gun and you can see it lying at an angle. Don't worry about that. It's just there to act as a bumper for when the hammer flies back. Now we're going to lift the hammer and the valve system out of the gun and put the other side of the receiver out of the way. Now we have the hammer, and the hammer, very simple, with the charging handle on the side. Once you take out the spring and the spring guide, the charging handle can come out the side of the hammer. The hammer is hardened steel and has an O-ring on the front. This O-ring on the front is extremely important. There is a spare in the spares kit. If the gun has gas and it's a full gas tank but it isn't cocking properly, typically this O-ring on the front is either dirty, worn or damaged. So in that case, the gun's not charging properly. You have a full tank of gas but it's just repeatedly shooting and not shooting properly or not cocking. That's the O-ring to change. Next we have the valve system. It has the plastic valve body and the piece of hose that comes through into the valve body. Okay, so in order to take the valve apart further, we need a wrench. You can simply hold the valve and undo the fitting from the side. When reassembling this, make sure that you clean up and reapply PTFE or thread sealant to the valve. Okay, now you should be able to get the valve to just come out. If it doesn't come out easily, stick an Allen key down the end, oops, and push it, not too hard so it flies on the floor. Okay, and now we have the inside of the valve. The valve body is empty. You can actually see the adjuster for the throttle as you look down through the center, and that adjuster simply restricts the passage and reduces the amount of gas that gets to the ball, so it reduces your velocity. Okay, so then we have the valve and we have the spring clip in the back. Simply take that out and then you can push on pin. You have the stop at the back, you have the valve spring, and you have the poppet with the face seal inside, and that's what closes off and shuts off the gas inside the valve of the gun. If you have a leak, a slow leak that's coming down the valve of the gun, then typically it'll be this seal here that needs replacing. You're going to take a quick look at the grip frame before we reassemble the whole gun. Now we have the trigger group built into one unit, which is really nice. You don't have parts coming all over the place, springing about. In order to disassemble this, you push the safety all the way through, then out comes the trigger group. And the trigger group is located with these pins, the springs and the sear. And if you want to, you can separate those plates out, but it all holds together in a nice group. You don't normally have to do too much maintenance to that. If you take the plates off the side, then you can actually replace the sear as well, but that's not commonly needing to be done. We put it back into the gun, we put the safety in through the side, line it up with the hole across, push it through so it snaps into place, check that the safety still works. We're all good.